Hey there, welcome, welcome. I'm so excited. Today we are talking about creating a love of learning environment. Did you catch us last week when we were talking about the love of learning culture? Because both of these things are very, very important. This is something that I love to do. This is part of the entire Raising Leaders roadmap is to help you get to the love of learning culture and environment that you need to create lifelong learners. This is my jam. This is what I love to do. I'm so excited because today we're going to be talking about the key to creating a lifelong or inspiring environment in your homeschool, in your family. And this is really important because you want to create the culture where you can keep love of learning high. Because when you keep love of learning high, what happens? Everything is easier. You end up creating lifelong learners, right? When love of learning is lower, everything is harder and you lose sleep, you're worried, there's frustration, there's all kinds of stress, and you're not sure if you're actually doing what's best for your kids, and you're worried that you're going to mess them up. And so you got to get that love of learning high, and the culture is really what keeps that love of learning high. We can teach you how to reset it and we can teach you how to get it high, but you have to be able to maintain it. And in order to do that, you have to have the culture. Well, guess what? The environment that your family is in is part of that culture. It's a very essential part of that culture. It matters. It matters. And you guys know I talked about it last week with the culture. You have to be intentional. If you haven't watched that episode or gone back to listen to that, make sure you go back and do that today because these two go together. That's why we're doing these back to back, you guys. Okay. So, really, the key to creating a love of learning culture is related to creating a whole love of learning environment. But we want to talk about them individually right now because I want you to think about them in the way that you are working with them in your home. Okay. So, you guys, this is super fun. We're going to talk about about the different parts of your culture and the different parts of your environment. Last time your culture was a lot of the things that you were doing to create, remember the learning happens everywhere all the time. You guys know that's my mantra, right? That's my mantra. Learning happens everywhere all the time. But today, as part of that in your environment, we're going to talk about the key to that. If you're having frustration, if you know your kid's environment or your home environment, we're talking about inside and outside your home. If you know that that's already it's already a struggle. It's already something that really is not contributing to your family's love of learning. In fact, it's detracting from it. Then we need to talk. We need to get together and you and I need to have a conversation to where we can figure out what exactly is going on, right? Because if you don't get this environment part right, you are constantly trying to create that culture and you can do a good job at it, but you're fighting against your environment, okay? Consistently. And that's hard. It takes more effort, really. It's better to have all of it cohesively contributing to a high level of love of learning, which relates to that leader and the lifelong learner that we want to create, right? So, definitely contact me if that's you, if that's you're feeling like, I know this is really struggling, then let's talk, okay? Because we're going to I want to share the secret with you. We're going to talk about the secret. Are you ready? The secret to and the key to a love of learning environment is that example is everything. Okay. So, example is everything. Now, that is true for your culture as well. Again, the environment is part of your culture, right? And so, this is something that we need to talk about. Learning happens everywhere all the time. And example is everything. So, everything that you have in and out of your home, and I'm not just talking about physical stuff, but I am talking about physical stuff too, that you want to have reflect the example of what you're trying to create to feed into that. Now, I'm going to give you some examples of that in just a second, but I want to talk about the parts of the environment in your home and the parts of the environment out of your home. Okay. So I want you to think a little bit about your entire family, just their space, right? The spaces that you're in. I want you to think about your home, inside your home. I want you to think about the furniture, the stuff on the walls. I want you to think about books. I want you to think about the physical things. Is it cluttered? Is it full of just undone projects? Is it what is that physical aspect of your home? Think about those kinds of things. I also want you to think about schoolrooms. Y'all know how I feel about schoolrooms. I'm not saying they're bad, but what I am saying is they need to send the right message. And so a lot of people will create these very Pinteresty schoolrooms where learning only happens in one room of their home, and that you're sending the message where school happens here and the learning we do out of there doesn't matter as much. That's not the message we want to send. That's what they got at school. That's box checking mentality. What we want to do is we want to bridge that gap so that all learning is important, right? So if we're trying to create lifelong learners, if we're trying to create a high level of love of learning, that's what we have to do, right? We talked about this last week. School rooms tend to send that message. Not saying you can't have your stuff in one place, but you need to think about what is the message we're sending with studies and schoolwork and academics, if this is the only place we do academics. And I'm totally one of those people that started that way. Behind us used to be like a school room when I first started homeschooling. And then I realized, gosh, I'm sending the wrong message here. And a lot of times he just wants to be where I'm at. He would do math on the floor by my feet while I'm doing the dishes or something, right? And so it's something where you want to send the right message about where learning happens and where important learning happens, okay? Because all learning is important. And so we want to make sure that we're not box checking with the schoolroom. Also, a lot of people do a really inspiring, colorful posters on the wall. You see my little map back there, right? Well, backwards, that way. It's hard to point, but that way is the map back there, and you get all this inspiring stuff. But guess what? That's not the only place we have maps. We have a map in the hallway where everybody just walks by all the time, and my son will just walk by and he'll look at it. He'll be like, "Wow, oh, interesting." He'll just be standing there looking at it. We have all over the place, but listen, you have to think about, is all the inspiring learning stuff inside your schoolroom or is it everywhere in your home? Okay. You also notice wrong hand. In the back there, I have the Thomas Jefferson Education mission statement, which is an education to match your mission. And then I also have the entire mission, the the mission purpose behind there, the entire thing. What do you call those things? The motto? No. The manifesto, kind of like a manifesto right behind there. So that's where I have all that stuff. So, and we have this kind of stuff all over our house, you guys. This is something you want to think about, right? So inside, the stuff in it, the outs, and then where things are situated. Where's your furniture situated? Does it like encourage learning? Does it not? Is it and then you want to think about, this is also inside your home, but it's also outside your home, which is media. The second thing is media, okay? I want you to think about audio, visual, ads, print material. That means books, magazines, flyers, things like that, posters, artwork, pictures. And then I want you to think about outside your house, like signs, billboards. Some of those things, depending on where we live, can be kind of detrimental. Like, woo, I don't want them to see that. Or, yeah, that's great, inspiring, right? What do we want to think about? Now, we can't control all that stuff out there, but we can control some of it. So think about the media. Media's music too, right? Everything that's audio, visual, that we're taking into account, no matter what format it's in, that's media. Okay. So think about that. Also, think about number 3, the association. Now, this is something we talk about a lot, which is association is everything, right? So we all know that. That's there's like books written about it. We talk about it all the time. Your mom said it to you, you're going to be just like your friends told you to jump off a bridge. Would you jump off too? Right? That kind of thing. But association is not just about friends. It's about family members, mentors. It's about it's about neighbors. It's about community members. Think about those kinds of things. Think about their coaches, their if you go to church, the pastors, if you have if you're in scouts, like the scoutmaster, 4-H, your 4-H leaders, all of these things, your music teacher, your whatever. Think about all of these things that contribute to your family's environment and think about how that positively or negatively affects their love of learning. Okay. Because it really can be positive and negative. I mean, I've had mentors that we've tried out for a while for my son that have I was just like, "Nope, that's not happening." And I give people a lot of grace. I really do. I'm like, "Okay, let's just try to find some good. Let's try to really work this out." And then if it just ain't working, it just ain't working. If this is not the kind of person I want my son to become, if this is not at least in the area that they're influencing my son with, then that's not happening. But I want them to be the kind of person too, the character that I want my son to have. And so I'm very choosy about those kinds of people and friends. And we're involved in a lot of my son's activities because we want to make sure that the culture is how we want it to be. So that's something that you need to think about. Okay. And family members is a little tough. Sometimes you can't avoid them, sometimes you can. Sometimes you can lessen that relationship so that it's more positive for your kids and you you too probably. But sometimes you don't have a choice. And so that becomes something we need to talk about, okay? So let's talk about that. I've actually helped a lot of people really with difficult situations and difficult environments reframe all of that. So it's part of the process. It's part of the process that I teach. It's part of the process we go through in creating that culture, really surrounding yourself to really support a high level of love of learning and inspiration always. Of course, we're going to have negative experiences. Of course, we're going to have, negativity come in our life, but we want to just lessen that as much as possible. The majority of the lessons and the majority of the exposure should be something that's positive if that's what we're trying to create, right? I mean, it just makes sense, right? So you want to think about those things. And then you want to also think about number 4, your community. So think about what does your community is a supportive community? Is it something that's like, it's kind of toxic? Think about that, right? I'm not saying you need to move, but maybe you need to move. I'm just saying like it's something where you want to think about where you are, right? Okay. Your neighborhood and your neighbors and things like that. We actually have really amazing neighbors. I'm super happy about it. Oh my gosh, I love our neighbors. We're super close. So it's really a blessing, but we didn't always have that. And so it's really a blessing to be able to cultivate those relationships. So that's one of the things that I do all the time, you guys. I've said several examples now of the things that we're involved with. My husband's the scoutmaster of our troop. I was one of the den leaders. My husband and my dad were all involved. My dad's still involved with scouts, but they were all involved in our scouting experience. I've been involved in all of his martial arts and his swimming and everything like that. And then we are also just trying to really make sure that we are coaching him to and being around places and people that are really positive. Okay. One thing I love that one of our inspiring lifelong learning members, so the Raising Leaders roadmap is really where you get from where you're at to the actual lifelong learners and leaders that go out in the world and make this world better. I mean, that is what I love because I didn't start out thinking like that. I started out wanting that, but I didn't know how. And I messed it up pretty good. And so that's why I created the Raising Leaders Roadmap, is because I had to rekindle my son's love of learning. And then I had to keep it there. And I realized that if I keep it there, that's what creates those lifelong learners and the leaders that we need in this world to go out and make this world better. That's why my son is a lifelong learner. And I realized this a few months ago that I couldn't undo his lifelong learning right now if I tried. I couldn't undo it. He is a lifelong learner. That's absolutely incredible. I never thought that was possible, but it is. It's amazing. And I help lots and lots of families do the same thing. So that's the Raising Leaders Roadmap. Well, in the Raising Leaders Roadmap, there's 15 checkpoints. And the first 12 are the Inspiring Lifelong Learning program. And the Inspiring Lifelong Learning program is really about what we're talking about, creating the culture and the environment with all the things to help you really keep that, get it high, that love of learning high, because most people need a little bit of a refresh, and then how to keep it high forever. It gives you the skills to be able to do that. It's pretty amazing. So, anywho, one of my inspiring lifelong learning members, Julie, she's so fabulous. She was already a lifelong learner herself, and she's already homeschooling, but she was like, man, I'm doing a lot of box checking. My kids really aren't loving learning. And so what she did is we were looking at her environment, and one of the things that we do is I teach you how to create a family mission statement with your family. And so she created her family mission statement. She was like, this is something I've always wanted to do. It was so exciting. And she posted it up right where everybody could see it, right on the fridge. I think she had it on the fridge, and it was something where everybody could see it every single day, and they talked about it, and it was part of their culture, it was part of their environment, but they made it part of their environment. We do the same thing too. It's something that's really, really cool. We teach you how to do that in the Inspiring Lifelong Learning program. So but if you need help with that, if that's something that you want to do, because once your kids are able to have this conversation, it's constantly in their mind of like, oh yeah, that's who we are as a family. That's what we do as a family. That's right. This is what we do. And this is who we are. Then that's something that's inspiring them every single day. And it's just posted right there, right? Easy to ignore once you post it. But if you're having a constant conversation about it, then it's not, right? So you want to really identify those things, those little things you can do to really boost up your environment so that you can create it a really high level love of learning. And then your whole culture can be moved and can be shifted to support that. That is what I do. That is what I love doing. So if you need help with that, contact me. I'm going to put my information in the comments. It's in the show notes and it's in YouTube. So make sure you book a call with me. It's a totally free call. I just want to share with you. I love seeing where your family's at, where you want to go, and then helping you give tips to kind of like, okay, let's get moving. If we end up working together, great. If not, you'll definitely get some tips to move you on your way. So definitely reach out to me. And this is this environment is actually checkpoint number 12 on our Raising Leaders roadmap. So there's 1 through 15, and this is number 12. This is the last thing that we talk about in Inspiring Lifelong Learning program. So it's really exciting that I've never shared this before, and something that I wanted to share with you guys because we were talking about culture last week, and essential part of that culture is the environment. So I want to make sure that you really, really understand what that means. And you guys can create that for your kids. And it's just little shifts, it's little things, but it can make a huge difference, right? If you have a ton of clutter in your home, you're stressed out about it, but guess what? Your kids are too. And it's not a very free learning environment, right? So you want to make sure that you are purging, right? That's something that you can do easily. But let's talk about how you can do this for your family, because if you really think about it, this matters. We always say the kids we hang out with, a lot of us homeschool because we don't want the school social situation and that whole environment. But what are we doing at home to support that? I hope that didn't hurt you too much. I hope that, because you can change it. You can change it. And it matters. It really does matter. You guys, I look forward to talking with you, and I will see you again next week.